Welcome. Today we're covering everything you need to know about rolling out RightCapital to your clients. We want you to deliver a stellar client experience. Though this may sound daunting, all it means is enabling your clients to set up accounts, track their financial history, and gain an appreciation for what you do. Our objectives include the basics for setting up your client, best practices and talking points to introduce RightCapital to your clients, and presentation and talking points for client meetings. Let's get started by setting up a client. You have three main options: fill out everything, have your client fill it all out, or somewhere in between. Many advisors start the process of entering the client information themselves before asking their client to fill out their profile. This effectively primes the pump for the client and helps them get started. It's the equivalent of starting the first draft so the client doesn't have to start from a completely blank slate. Think of it like a writer's block. Once something is on the page, it's easier to get started. Click on Add New Client, input their basic information, and click on the Input Client's Information now. You can put in basic information about the client: name, date of birth, residence state, etc. If you're using one of our CRM integrations such as Redtail or Wealthbox, you can pull in some of that data automatically. Here you can set up the client's family information. We see a lot of advisors skim through the data entry, especially if they've got an integration set up. For example, if you have an integration with one of our custodian partners or performance reporting solutions, you can go in and just link investment accounts to your clients. That way, you've added their main accounts. Clients know that information is set up. If there are specific pieces of information that you do know about the client, or if there are items that you want to customize for yourself, we default a lot of the information around things like retirement and long-term care costs. If you're using different values, you can go in and set up those in advance. If you know when the clients are planning on retiring, you can put that information in here. When you and your clients go through the initial setup process, you'll see there are 6 segments at the top. You can either click ahead at the top or click next at the bottom. You'll see several cards to help prompt the client on information they should enter. You can always add more cards by clicking on Add Income. Another tip: if you know they have an account but don't know the values, you can always create a card for them to fill out. For example, create a mortgage card, fill in what you know about it, and ask them to fill the rest of it out. Just make sure that you review it afterward for accuracy. To link accounts, go to Net Worth and hit Link Account. If you have the RightCapital Premium or Platinum Edition, you have this Link Accounts capability. If you have an integration partner with, say, a custodian or performance reporting tool, that's also where you'd go. These are updated nightly, though you can hit the refresh button to update it manually. For an in-depth review on setting up the profile, check out our other YouTube videos or Help Center articles. Once complete, click on the logo in the top left to back out of the initial data entry process so the 6-step guide will still be available for the client. If you go all the way through and hit complete, then when the client logs in, they can fill out everything, but it will simply lack the 6 steps at the top. Click on the client name and select the Client Access tab, and this is where you have the ability to invite them to create their account. Alternatively, if you don't want to give them access quite yet, invite them to your office to go over their data or set up a video conference. When you send the invitation, what serves as a best practice is to keep the invitation email very basic. Simply explain the value proposition and how to create their account to access your portal in advance. Check out the Help Center for ideas on introducing RightCapital to your clients, including email messaging. After that, we'll customize the invitation email template. First, customize your branding so your client's portal matches your branding. If you've already got this set up, great, your branding is on point. White label it to you. Then, scroll down to the invitation email template. This is where you can customize the language for all invitations, or default to our preset language. Before we move on, another option is to grab your RightCapital Leads URL. Though this is primarily designed for generating leads via your website, a special landing page, in seminars or webinars, and in your email signature, it can be used for clients too. It's less personalized than the method we're discussing, but it is useful for small accounts or if you need to migrate many clients at once. When someone fills it out, it will create a brand new client in your account. In your first email that's personalized to them, explain what you want them to do. If you want them to go in and input specific items, specify that. If you want them to go in and use the account aggregation to link bank accounts or credit cards, specify that. Also, we've curated ideas and sample email messaging both in product and on our Help Center under Introducing RightCapital to your clients. After you send that personalized email telling them about your portal and what to do, then come back into RightCapital and send that email that has their password setup info. Add their email address, click the invite button, and it's off. This does a few things for you. Number one, people like surprises on Christmas and their birthdays, but not the other 363 days of the year. So give them a heads up. Number two, set expectations that they'll be getting an invite. It decreases the likelihood of accidentally getting deleted. And number three, they look forward to it. This moves beyond negating a negative experience and to proactively managing a positive one. You sell them on the why before they get to the how. You will see here on the client access screen whether the invitation has been sent. When they go in and accept the invitation, you will see the invitation has been accepted. That's a way for you to know that they've started their account. You also will get notified via email. Then they can download the RightCapital mobile app on the Google Play Store or the Apple App Store. This is a terrific feature for on-the-go clients. If the clients can't find the link, you can use the direct sign-up link here and copy and paste that link into an email to send to your clients. Going through this process allows the client to get used to the software and develop that connection with you. Top advisors make sure they go through the information to determine what items to have a conversation with the client about as well. This initial review allows you to be better prepared for various questions and minimizes the "I'll need to get back to you on that" instances. So, to recap the process thus far, number one, create the client. Number two, get the initial information in the system. 3, send it over to the clients. 4, have them put the information in. 5, review the inputs. And 6, and finally, set up either a call or a meeting to review that information with the client. Related to that, online meetings can be great if you just do a quick screen share. Also, so you know what options are available to them, make sure they understand you are empowered by as much data as they put in. For instance, if there are missing income streams, that could throw off tax estimates. Best practices suggest when inviting clients to input their information, limit access to the portions of the software such as the basic balance sheet and maybe a couple other areas. For example, make sure clients put in their information, which gives you the ability to review the results of the various different screens before granting clients access to see that information themselves. This is how you can create multiple plans for the client, so you can compare current versus one proposal or current versus another. This will relate to the retirement analysis in a moment. All right, the Capstone is a retirement analysis section where you can illustrate all the recommendations into one screen. Effectively, this is where everyone in the orchestra joins together. Depending on what the client's situation looks like, it may be a good idea to review proposal items to change and set those up in advance. Whether it's as part of the proposed plan or through the multiple plan functionality to create multiple alternatives, you have that ability. You can go in there and do that. For more on retirement, check out our YouTube video and our Help Center articles. So, when you first open your client plan with the probability of success being very low, this is a good time to test your assumptions and show alternatives to illustrate the value that you provide. Who is going to argue whether you're worth it if your wisdom and knowledge helps them achieve their long-term goals through reducing taxes, efficiently paying down debt, better budgeting, or a number of other options at your disposal? And when it's so visually clear, too. Whether it's your asset allocation strategy or looking at Social Security benefits, best practices dictate identifying the items that you want to focus on to make sure you're controlling the conversation, that you've got the ability to improvise if they ask questions. Go into the client meeting with a specific idea of what you want to illustrate by spending some time with the information to familiarize yourself with their situation. For example, you know what happens if they delay retirement, if that is going to be a large impact or a small impact on their probability of success or on their projections. What are the impacts that you're going to see so that you're not walking in blind? Instead, you know exactly what the impacts to the clients are. Effectively, it's the art of preparedness. Related to knowing the topics you want to discuss, identify the sections you want to present. For example, if you're simply walking through a basic client plan, you probably don't need to look at much more than just the balance sheet and a couple other areas. Remember, less is more. Don't overwhelm, but be their guide. So show them the balance sheet. Make sure they're familiar with how this looks so they can ultimately come in and check on this information themselves. If you're just looking at retirement planning, focus on that. Identify the items you're comfortable talking about and want to include for the clients. Whether it's the probability of success, looking at different comparisons, or different scenarios, identify those items. Also, stress tests can be super helpful, especially for clients who have a very strong probability of success. Highlight the fact that even if you know things might look good based on our current assumptions, if something goes wrong, this is a way that you can show the impact that certain items may have on their overall probability of success. It's not about inducing fear, but being their guide who says, hey, I've seen this before. Here are some things that could happen, but we've identified the concern and can work toward a solution. That will convey your transparency and wisdom to build trust. Incorporate your concerns and their questions. They're paying you for your advice. For example, long-term care insurance and the impact that that's going to have. Illustrate some of the options in terms of the additional coverage. Or take budgeting. Prepare budgeting ideas or things like debt repayment strategies. When clients link in their bank and credit cards, the budgeting tool becomes a powerhouse for you and them. In terms of the presentation for the client, we get a lot of questions about this. What are the best practices? How do other advisors walk their clients or prospects through this? We find walking clients through the information online definitely a best practice. Whether in person or virtually through a screen share, illustrate options that will show your wisdom and allow clients to ask questions and to look at alternatives. This gives you a lot of control over that information so that you don't have to then go back and review things later on. Once you have gone through that process, identified the information, agreed upon certain items, log that information in RightCapital. Use the notes feature at the bottom of each screen to add commentary. For example, on tasks, you can click on tasks to show open tasks, completed tasks, and any notes that you've written here. These can be printed in your report too. Now that we've captured that as part of the plan, make sure to add the information in their respective sections and generate a report to memorialize that information. Include your conversation with the client on the specific date and the agreed upon items. For the report, specify what you want to include. Include only what you've discussed with the client to make sure you've captured that information. Don't try to make the longest report possible and overwhelm the client. Remember, less is more. All right, now download the PDF report and add that file to the vault. Easy enough. You can also see a print preview below to know exactly what will be included in the printout. Once downloaded, just open the vault, add it, and you've got that reflected and archived, so if you ever want to go back to a particular client at any point in time, you've got that record to work from. The Vault is a terrific tool for securely sharing information and memorializing any documents. For more, you can watch a short YouTube video on that too. Once you've had the meeting, review the data, capture the report, now is the time to go back and grant access to some of the areas of your portal so your clients can access it on an ongoing basis. Pro tip, a best practice is to only grant access to the information that you think is going to be relevant for the client at that time. You probably don't want them reviewing information that you haven't yet discussed, or that's not even relevant for them. The primary issues we've heard from advisors when they've shared everything on day one include, number one, it causes confusion in terms of what they're looking at and why they're getting access. And number two, you are their teacher. Show them what's most important so that they don't focus on lesser things. All right, the basic information can potentially be all they need. Consider these. Number one, the balance sheet. Give them the ability to see that information. Number two, budgeting. If you are doing budgeting through the aggregation tool, make sure to give them access to that too. Number three, tasks. If you're using the task list to communicate with them and setting up specific tasks, make sure to enable that too. Number four, and be sure to include the profile here at the bottom. That way they can update and adjust their financial data. Beyond that, a few optional areas include, number one, the retirement analysis. Great for enabling them to visualize their retirement and play around with different options. Number two, stress tests. If you're comfortable with that and it won't freak them out too much. Number three, asset allocation, if you want them to be able to track their investment assets over time. And then, of course, number 4, if there are specific items you believe are relevant. The most efficient advisors start small and grow. Like using stepping stones to slowly cross a river, introduce only a few items at a time. Roll out new sections methodically. It's both healthy for them, so as not to overwhelm them, and better for you so you can engage them more often. Make sure you save this so your changes go into effect. You can also choose whether you want them to interact with action items or not. They can see their progress, they can track that information over time, but then aren't playing around with things and getting in trouble. If you've got clients who really want to do the work themselves, this is a perfect opportunity to give them access as well. Of course, they can play around on their own and it doesn't permanently impact anything. They can reach out to you if they've got questions or want to make permanent changes. Okay, a key client retention strategy. Having clients on your portal will create that deeper, more stable connection. If they're used to going in to check their information through the portal that you're providing to them, that will strengthen your connection and will familiarize them more with you and help them better see your value. Speaking of client retention, use the Activities tab to track your clients' use. This is a great way of learning who is active in your portal so you can send nudges when you've updated their plan, or to use to illustrate what recent changes in the economy would or could do to their plan. Some talking points for your client include, number 1, 24/7 access. This enables them to research on their own. Number 2, a single unified view. The client has one login, not 2, not 3, just 1. Number 3, collaboration. You are their guide in their personal story. This enables greater collaboration. Number 4, tasks. You can create and share tasks so everyone is on the same page. Number 5, the vault. Securely share files and know that everything is up to date. And finally, number 6, the mobile app. Leverage the mobile app on Android or Apple devices. In fact, we've heard from a number of advisors who love incorporating the mobile app in their process. That enables clients to check on their probability of success on the go, their account balances, and more. Lastly, lest we neglect, set yourself up as your own client. Allow yourself to experience what it's like to be your own client. This will help you develop empathy, understand exactly what they need to do, and give better tips. For more, check out our Help Center. There are plenty of best practice guides and videos on our YouTube page. That's all for today. Thanks for watching, and make sure your client's experience is a great one.